I guess I'm creeping into old head territory. Or
starting hey, come on. Come on, nephew.
I feel like the young folks now
Uh-huh.
don't prioritize face-to-face real-life relationships, bro. And it's a real problem, bro, because everybody's becoming more socially awkward and less willing to put in that effort that we talked about, picking up the phone or going out and socializing versus just bed rotting.
You have to put the effort in all relationships. When I say relationships, friendship's a relationship. You gotta nurture that joint. If you don't spend time and you have to stay relevant. That's the thing. I've been blessed with the opportunity to have friends that I've known for 25 years. Friends that I know, he's my cousin, but he's my friend too. I known him for 40 years. We grew up together. We maturated through high school together. We talked. We always kept up, always separated, always came back together. But in that, it's like, you can't just talk about the lessons from 25 years ago. That's fun to reminisce. That's cool because that's what got you to this place. But at the same time, if you're not staying relevant, like what's happening now? How are the kids now? Is the job going okay? How's the dynamic going in your world? I have friends that I've known for 20 years, or I have people I know for 20 years, but they're not nearly as close. Hey, what's up, party people in the building? I don't know what to say in the beginning of these things. It's so stupid. I got my man here. We in the booth. The other side of the coin, my man, Waleed. What's
Fire
good,
in the booth.
Baby? Bam, 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 bam.
Fire in the booth. Watch out. Yes, sir. Waleed, you might know me from Two Coin Podcast. You know, now it's a crossover episode, Two Coin with Don. Appreciate my brother for letting me hop on the podcast.
Yo, I'm so glad you can come by and really have this time to spend getting a couple of things. So it's nice to get you in a different light. I think that my rule of thumb, I talked to Ronnie about it before too, it's just like, I don't put back-to-back bad days.
Yeah.
You allowed one. You're allowed to have a bad day. Things are off. Shit happens. It's life.
Yep.
But like that second day is a choice.
Yep.
Like you don't, what are you doing, bro? Like,
it's a different mindset when you go through a bad day, right? And then you go through all the events that happened and you figure out why and you point the finger at everybody else. Versus you get to a point in life, you have a bad day, you have a series of unfortunate events, you look at why those events happened, and then you think to yourself, how could my attitude have been better? What did I do to contribute to a negative outcome?
Yeah.
And then you go to sleep and wake up and decide, okay, from the moment I wake up today, I'm going to have a positive frame of mind and a good attitude, and then good things should snowball from there. And that usually works, man, because nobody's immune to bad days. It's a part of the human experience.
Yeah, hands down. I think it's one of those things too, is that like people always forget, like you said, it's just the stoic way of living. You know what I'm saying? You live stoic, I live stoic. You know, it's not like a big deal, but it's just a comfortable way that I see to navigate the world. But the coolest thing is that like there is no bad news, there is no good news. It's just things that happen.
Yeah.
How you negotiate it, like you said, is completely up to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, man. As you get older, you realize that like you have been through something worse. There are darker days. There are better days. You learn how to be a little bit more medium, and then that helps you navigate the impossible to avoid potholes.
Exactly. Part of it too is, you know, when you're in like a negative frame of mind and your thought process at that particular moment in time is just not as positive as you want it to be. You got to try your best to at least stay neutral, right? You don't want to let that negativity reflect outward in the way you present yourself to the world. So if you're at least neutral, that can keep things kind of at bay before they avalanche into bigger, more negative things.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people don't realize their perception in the world.
Yep.
You know, like everyone has like, oh, I have this thing where I know who I am, I know what I'm doing. I show it to people I love, the close people in my life. I give that to willingly and free. But I'm very aware of what I represent as far as aesthetically in the world. I know I'm a 200-pound black man that has a resting bitch face. It just is what it is, man. Yeah. But like, I also have to be cognizant of at least like when someone's feels nervous around me or someone does X, Y, and Z around me, I have to be cognizant like, oh, resting bitch face, kind of big dude, you're black, they don't know you. Hey, what's going on, man? My name's Don, you know. And not like on some jigaboo tap dancer shit. Yeah. Because I never had to validate my blackness ever. I am, it is, we move on.
Exactly.
But at the same time, as far as like, my mission in life in general is to spread joy.
Exactly.
To add a little life, to keep things interesting and fun and light. Life's hard, bro.
Life is hard for everybody.
Life's hard. And I've been through a lot of dark days.
Yeah.
But I feel like it gives you a chance to be, I always say, like, even on your worst day, you can be someone else's guardian angel.
Yep.
So you can be the worst time going through the rough stuff, and giving that little bit of food to a homeless dude, holding that door open, asking if your coworker's okay.
Hmm.
Like, all these things help with the human experience of living, of coexisting, of hopefully metamorphosizing into, I don't even know if that's a real world.
I think it is.
We'll take it.
There you go.
That's
But
a
hey,
$10
bro,
aficionado.
I think that we need more people like you, bro.
You know what? We need a lot more people like everybody else too, like, to round off this experience.
Yeah.
Like, with one comes another one, and one reminds me of what I should be doing, and reminds me of my message. Reminds me of what I'm trying to do with my things.
Exactly. And we owe it to each other as human beings, the human to human connection, any way you slice it, your frame of mind, whether it be positive or negative, and the other person's frame of mind in any given interaction, whether positive or negative, reflects how that interaction is going to go, more or less.
It really is. I tell people all the time, and like, I'm a little bit more hippie than most people, even at this age, but like, the vibrations are real, the frequencies are real, the way you communicate, body language, the energy behind the intent of words, all these things play into the interactions of how you received, and also how, like, people interact around you. Opposites attract, sometimes negatives repel. But if you put yourself in an environment with all positive people and there's negative people around, it doesn't correspond. So you don't have to worry about your universe anymore.
Exactly.
So I mean, like, this is kind of like a selfish double down. I don't really have bandwidth for negative minds or people that aren't willing to grow. Everyone needs growth. Everyone needs development. I'm not the same man I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's not even close. So with room to develop and room to talk, we can see what each other needs. I think it's like filling in the holes of, like, oh, I didn't think about that. Maybe I should introspect on what I'm doing in life, and maybe I should move a little bit differently.
It's funny you mentioned that you can't be around negativity, because I feel that way too, bro. And I know a lot of people that are kind of have a similar mindset to what you're saying feel that way as well. But, there's times in my life where I've come across this, and picture this, right? You got to a point in life where, a chronic complainer or somebody that's always like telling you about the negatives happening in their life is not something you can really like tolerate.
I don't.
Right? But then what if it comes from like family or loved ones? Like, where does the line get drawn between I can't have that around me, and let me be a supportive, loving brother or family member or whatever the case may be,
right? Just
to maintain like a good relationship and harmony and things like that.
I think it's one of those things that, like, as I've moved through life, I realized that they're all relationships, whether it be me and you, whether it be a roommate, whether it be a significant other, whether it be a mother, father, parent. Because you get to a certain age where everyone becomes adults. Yeah. So with everyone being adults, you get to choose the narrative of what relationship you want to have with me. That's across the board. There are bad things that happen in life. Like I said, I've been through some really rough ones. I'm sure you have in your young life. I've chosen a higher narrative, a higher frequency to do better, realize the things I've done, introspection, and do better. If you're not willing to do that, that's cool. But like, how are we getting to a solution? Yeah. And when I say like, I can't deal with negativity, it's like, that's cool. Negative moments, things happen for sure. Like, okay, you got your day, mope. We'll sit there tomorrow. What are we doing to do better? Or either you be quiet because you realize you don't want to change, or I'll help you brainstorm and we can get to the next step where you're doing better. Yeah. But there's the only two lanes I got. Yeah. Because anything else is just me. You want to be in a time. So I call them time terrorists. Yeah. Like, you're not going to take my time. I got whatever I want to do. Living, smoking weed, hanging out with my friends, jujitsu, all these things that play out as lifelong pursuits in my life. Like, you're not going to take away my time to do whatever I want to do. You're a time terrorist. I don't negotiate with terrorists. Yeah. Like, I'm just not going to do that.
I don't negotiate with terrorists.
No, like George W., bro. Like, I can't get off like that, because like, we're all in this eclectic growing experience. That's cool. That happened. Cool. What are we doing next? Yeah. Like, and if you need to sit in for a while, why don't you sit in for a while? When you get out or do better, involve me back again. I'm not going away. I'm not
I
dead.
agree. And that's not to like discredit or say like, you know, I don't have the emotional bandwidth to deal with somebody who's like opening up to me
Right.
in essence, right? Because I like to allow people the space to vent when they're frustrated,
Right.
just off the strength of trying to be a good friend or partner or brother or whatever, right? But I think there comes a time where you have like a threshold,
Yeah.
and those closest to you, those that you love,
Yeah.
understand that like subconsciously too.
Yeah.
So you come to like an understanding.
I think it's with one of those things too that like I think that well, hopefully if you're doing it right, the people closest to you are the least selfish.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I think that with when you're complaining or you have a bad day or you have things that erupt in your life that throw yourself off,
Hmm.
I think that you go to a close confidant, and if that close confidant isn't available, the selfish get frustrated, and the people that understand like step back, like, hey, they have life going on too.
Hmm.
So maybe when they clear up some life, then we can talk about things, and then it even starts from a healthier place because you're going into the interaction like I don't want to be a burden on someone else, but I do have to get this off my chest.
Hmm.
I hope they clear up some time. Hey, if you have some time next week, give me a call. I really need to talk, get some stuff on my chest.
Exactly.
I think that's the way healthier way of going about things.
Yeah, because then they can prepare for it.
They can prepare because sometimes, dude, I've had some like people tell me a lot of shit, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm very happy for that role
Hmm.
because I feel like I handle it well. Like you're saying, like we have people that confide in us,
Hmm.
that see a calmness in us because we do have stoic backgrounds.
Hmm.
We do move the way we do. And I think that's a great thing. And I really relish that. But at the same time, like, especially in the last 10 years, if I don't have the bandwidth, I don't have the bandwidth, bro.
Exactly.
I'm like, listen, homie, like, I'm sorry you're going through this, Jordan. I'm down. I got to knock out a couple things myself. Let me get you a call on Friday when the schedule clears up. And I've never had a problem unless they were takers.
Yeah. That's the only time you'll find out whether they're a giver or a taker is in that type of situation. That's perfect, actually, because you frame it like, look, man, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I'm also going through some things too. Can we circle back? And that's a good way to kind of frame it, especially if that's actually the case. But I think a lot of it too, on like a podcaster to podcaster type of
Mhm.
thing, I think a lot of these one-on-one human interaction type of nuances, for me personally, like I've learned it through the art of podcasting.
Mm.
Not to say that I'm like a professional podcaster or like
No,
a
no,
Joe
no.
Rogan or whatever.
You got reps, though.
But this is something me and Ronnie have been doing for 6 years, right? And I'd say the biggest takeaway that I've gotten from doing this for that period of time is my ability to connect with people
Mm.
has improved like substantially. And my ability to build relationships and above all else, listen.
Mm.
Because if you go back and watch some of our earlier episodes,
Oh, I did today.
oh,
I did.
oh yeah, it's like these
We'll
motherfuckers
get
have
to that
came a long
later.
way. But I'd get into a habit of where like I'm cutting people off
Mm.
just to like interject with my thought.
Mm.
And I got like really, I wouldn't want to say critical, but like, I can get better at this.
Yeah.
And over time, it's something that I like to think I've eliminated completely. So I guess to you is, you've been doing podcasting now because
Just
you've
a
really
little
wanted to get into it
Yeah.
for a long time. And by the grace of God and Ronnie,
Hey, shout out.
you got into it now.
Mhm.
So I want to ask you too, like, what, if anything, has this practice taught you, and how have you used it to improve your life, if at all?
Yes, I have. I think the biggest thing for me is that one, I wanted to get into the space because it's an interesting space, but I also had a lot of doubt in like my perception, how it'd be seen.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out, I used to work with this chick named Madison, super cool chick, shout out Madison. And we were talking and she was like, I was coming up with these schemes and I saw these like dances and all this stuff that just made me nauseous as a 44-year-old, honestly. And she was like, you can just be what you want to be.
Yeah.
And then whoever resonates with that, it resonates with. And I was like, wow. I was like, it sounds so silly, but you look at all the things you don't like and see how many people react to that.
Mm-hmm.
And you think that's the only audience or the only lane
Exactly.
out there. So I think that was a really big thing. I think that you bring up a really good point as far as like the conversational flow of how like most people. I was at work with my producer the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking, and we actually were having in that moment we were having a really good talk about something that was really personal in each other's lives.
Mhm.
And, we were just getting into it, hit that one moment where we're just like, and then out of nowhere, when a cocktail service busted, it was like, hey, look at what I can do. I'm like, excuse me, like, respectfully, we were just having a conversation. But then when I'm doing it, I'm like, yo, not only did you not hear me, I try to correct. It
Yeah.
didn't go down. And I'm just like just so void of how disruptive not hitting the right marks can be.
Exactly.
Man. It's just an extreme example, but like it's really important to give that proper pacing
Mhm.
so that people really feel heard, or if you want to improve your public speaking or whatever, that's super important, man.
Yeah.
I feel like people give you more when they feel like they're being heard.
Exactly.
You
And
know?
you mentioned the apprehension initially to
Mhm.
doing this because of how you might be perceived by people. I found that never really goes away. You just kind of just
Okay.
like learn more to like tune it out and
That's fair.
give less of a fuck about it the more
That's
you
fair.
and just trust in your ability to just talk, because at the end of the day all we're doing is talking. It's not
Yeah.
that hard.
It's really not that hard.
You know what I mean?
I just think that it's nice to like have that time to really like get into topics and really talk to people. And I just really want to encourage everyone else to have conversations. I know it sounds silly, but like we're just really in our phones right now.
100%.
And it's not even on some like, oh man, I wish back in the days. I love technology. I like phones. I love all the showing the memes and everything like that. But
Mhm.
like there's no threshold anymore. It seems like it's just course corrected all the way to the left. And now we're in our phones. Now we don't need anybody. So now we can be in a room by ourselves with nothing post COVID and not interact with anybody.
Yeah.
We got to force ourselves to kind of get out of that mold and kind of get back into the world and kind of take it back to where it was.
Exactly, because it's easy to just sit around and be alone and scroll on your phone all day, but socializing and connecting with people takes effort.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to ask you a question. Like, we're kind of veering off, but this really just came to my mind.
Yeah, that's no problem. Go.
We talk about like building connections and like social connections, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's people that you grew up with. I'm sure that you would consider, like, I guess, even early in your life, like very close to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're somebody who's moved out of state several times, right? Or
Mhm.
moved to like several different places throughout your life, right?
Yeah.
How do you maintain those relationships with the people you've met and connected with across the way when you do move somewhere else? And how do you get over that anxiety of starting fresh and setting up shop somewhere else?
I think that the biggest thing with that is honestly the first part of it is
Mhm.
that I think throughout life you resonate with certain people.
Mhm.
I talk to Ronnie all the time. When we lived together, I was like, yo, the big three is always goated.
Mhm.
Waleed, Alex, Mark, always goated.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's even before we really got into it, before we like identified, who he held in that response. I saw who was around.
Yeah.
And I think that like certain people throughout lives we really resonate, and it's like a soul family.
Mhm.
And I think that the soul family is irreplaceable and it's easily identified.
Mhm.
So I think when you run across people that are so valuable or so innate to your being, or you learn so much from, I collect them. They're like trading cards and shit like that for me. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like, if I do leave, like you live in my heart forever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's just certain people that just beyond the circumstances, beyond the times, like you just go through things with.
Yeah.
And those are your friends, those are your family. But like I think nowadays people just are so quick to put that brand on people.
Mhm.
You don't have the time to go through things with people.
Exactly.
You don't have the time to struggle with people.
Mhm.
And those are the things that really forge a real friendship.
Yeah.
And that takes time.
Exactly.
And I guess because of my living, my circumstances, my random lifestyle,
Mhm.
I've had a chance to really forge tight connections with people over a shorter amount of time,
Mhm.
because of some of the things we went through.
Nice.
Whether it be working behind a bar 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and you can't help but interact,
Mhm.
or training on the mat, really trying to hurt people, but not trying to hurt people, and working towards a common goal, and you build that time and respect and admiration because their actions speak louder than what they could ever say. It's in the work.
Yeah.
When you meet those people that you have time that you spend in the work, you enjoy it, the gritty work, all the stuff we always talk about.
Hmm.
I feel like those are bonds that like transcend race, creed, color. They're just human lessons.
Yeah.
And I think with those people, I've been extremely lucky, but I also make sure that I maintain the parameters of the friendship.
Yeah.
As far as like I call them,
Mhm.
like I have a good group about probably like 8 to 10 people that I call, make sure fervently once a month at least, sometimes every 2 weeks,
Yep.
and I spend like an hour or two on the phone with them.
Yeah, just do your part, pick up the phone, make sure they get a call from you.
You got
Because
to.
that's the thing that people don't realize is relationships take a lot of effort, bro. And not to sound like I guess I'm creeping into old head territory or
Hey,
starting
hey,
to.
come on, come on, nephew, come on, nephew.
I'm coming
Let's
on over.
Let me get my sweatshirt, ready, my sweater ready.
I
Go
feel
ahead.
like the young folks
Go ahead.
now
Uh-huh.
don't prioritize face-to-face real life relationships, bro. And it's a real problem, bro, because everybody's becoming more socially awkward and
Yeah.
more like less willing to put in that effort that we talked about, picking up the phone or going out and socializing versus just bed rotting.
You have to put the effort in all relationships. When I say relationships, like I said earlier, friendship's a relationship. You got to nurture that joint.
Yeah.
If you don't spend time and you have to stay relevant. That's the thing that I've been blessed with the opportunity to have friends that I've known for 25 years.
Hmm.
Friends that I know I call him, he's my cousin, but he's my friend too. I known him for 40 years. We grew up together. We went through match through high school together. We talked, but we always kept up, always separated, always came back together. But in that, it's like you can't just talk about the lessons from 25 years ago or the things, stories. That's fun to reminisce. That's
Yeah.
cool. Because that's what got you to this place.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're not staying relevant, like what's happening now? How are the kids now? What's
Yeah.
going on now? Is job going okay?
Yeah.
Like how's the dynamic going in your world? Then it's not going to be lasting. I have friends that I've known for 20 years, or I have people I've known for 20 years, but they're not nearly as close as this 8 to 10 people are.
Would you say it's because of those people stayed? I mean, and this is no knock against anybody, but would
No.
you say that those people stayed a little more stagnant than you were accustomed to?
I think it's really more like the connection piece.
Yeah.
I think that, like I said, all relationships, all things are all relationships. 3 C's still play:
Mhm.
connection, compatibility, and chemistry.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Obviously, when you're moving with a friend, you're not thinking of like romantic chemistry, but like the interests that you have is chemistry in that
Yeah.
regard. But that connection piece,
Mhm.
I think that's the people that I've stayed with the most, is
Mhm.
that the ones that we had a connection with.
Yeah.
And it's like indelible. It's hard to explain. You can't quantify it, but the footprint that person leaves in your life. That's
Yeah.
kind of irreplaceable.
And as personalities, you just click.
Yeah. I got a good buddy on Quintel.
Yeah.
I known Quintel since 9th, 10th grade. And like still, like out of all the people in my life, we can be in a room, white room, nothing going on, 2 chairs, and we'll sit there for 8 hours and laugh about the dumbest shit.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, and it never fails, and that's 25 years later.
That's dope because like those are the homies that's like you might not have seen each other for a couple months, a year, whatever the case may be. But once you finally do link up again, it's like you pick up right where
Bro.
you left off and like nothing ever happened and no time has passed and it's just the same shit.
And the best part is that like, with him, for instance, I talk about his kids. He got 4 beautiful kids, boys. We talk about the football programs the football programs he's run. We talk about the maturation of the family. We talk about growing businesses together. We talk about the whole spectrum. And I think when you get those special people in your life, you're supposed to open up your spectrum of you to brighten the relationship. And that all comes, it's all cyclical and it all makes
100%.
it live.
Shout out to all the homies and shout out to
the
everybody
homies,
that's
bro.
working to maintain those relationships.
It's hard, man. It's really hard, man. And I think that faith that you guys are going to be, together for a long time is a big thing. And getting back to you, speaking of faith and things of that nature, I think that was one of my favorite things about kind of learning you, understanding who you are as a person, seeing some of the clips and interactions. I always found that to be a really strong point of you.
Yeah.
I don't want to really embarrass you, so I'll cut it all out. But I remember like it was yesterday.
Mhm.
One of my favorite like quasi embarrassing moments is that like we were all at the job and we were partying,
Yeah.
and you're not really a big drinker,
hmm
and you wind up getting in a little tiff with the security,
Little kerfuffle.
a little kerfuffle,
Yeah.
and you wind up literally getting carried out. But my favorite part of the whole interaction point was that there was never a time where you did not stand on business. You're like the whole, even as you were getting carried out, you were still standing on business.
Even as I was
shit.
seconds away from getting dropped by security.
Shout out security because they know the homie. And
Shout out to all of them, bro. Like I meant no harm.
Firstly, completely out of character, bad night. We all have them. Like I've been asked to leave several establishments myself.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was getting carried out and still talking shit to one of the biggest securities in the joint was my favorite part of the whole thing. And everybody knows you. So everybody was like, oh, he had a bad day, whatever. But like, I think that, you know, between you're also Muslim, you're very devout. You go through all the periods.
That was a crazy transition.
I know. It was pretty wild. I'm about to bring it back. Wait for it. The reason why I transitioned is because as I see that strength on display, do you source your faith as far as being a strong individual, as far as how you were raised in your religion to give you a lot of that strength? Or do you find that comes from family members and as you were raised, that comes from being Sudanese and having to do these different things? Where do you think you can pinpoint that internal strength that you exhibit on a regular basis?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because
see,
first
I came
of all,
back with a transition, son.
First of all, the homies that was dragging me out was probably looking at me like a Pomeranian or a Chihuahua barking, like, all right, let's get this nigga out of here. But on a more serious note, like I think, thank you for the compliment, by the way. Yeah. But I think that comes from everything that you said, just a mixture of everything. But above all, yes, faith is the biggest thing that carries me. And that was instilled in me by my parents, mostly my mom. And as a Muslim, or I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm the most religious or like I'm at the mosque every Friday or like I'm very devout. Like I'm a flawed human being at the end of the day, but I just try to maintain the frame of mind of my faith being strong, like fully believing in my head that there's a higher power guiding me, and that anything that happens in my life is due to that. Circumstances outside of my control. Like we talk about, you know, being stoic or whatever, and things that you can control versus things you can't. Taking action on the things that you can control, to me and my faith and how it's rooted and how it was instilled in me, even taking action on the things that you can control is outside of your control, if that makes sense. No, like totally. Like you're being guided by a higher power. So even if you mess up or you go the wrong way or you do something bad, it was ultimately to teach you a lesson. Yeah. And that builds the perspective that we talked about earlier of when you fumble, when you have a bad day, you can still maintain a positive point of view. And that, for me, ultimately comes from my faith, knowing that if I do the right things and if I live life virtuously, right, that there's something greater on the other side waiting for me. So then that keeps you not even afraid of dying. Not to sound like the big bad wolf or nothing, but like...
No, it's inevitable.
When you have, the stronger your faith is, the less fear you have of anything that could potentially happen to you. Like, I can walk outside and get hit by a truck right now, but am I scared of that prospect? No. Like, am I scared of, knock on wood, you know, getting cancer and eventually passing away like some of my family members? No, because I've seen them going through those trials and tribulations, right? Like they get sick and then they pass away. And I saw firsthand how their faith was held ultimately strong in the midst of all that. They didn't cower. They didn't weak. They're like, whatever happens, happens. Like, God wants me. Allah wants me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think when you live life from a perspective, as all Muslims, not just me, all Muslims try to do, is you stay humble, and the faith keeps you from having an ego that gets out of control. And the incident that you mentioned was the biggest example of that, the best example of that. But yeah, long story short, that's kind of the gist of it. I do like to have my faith carry me, and I'm happy to hear that it shows, I guess, outwardly.
Oh, bro. I think that I'm always on Ronnie's neck about shit. He has to listen to me about so much shit when we be talking. But with that age gap, it some of those traits that you were talking about that you don't see in your generation
Hmm.
are rooted in my generation. You know, like talking to people, going checking up on people, being a good person, integrity. And it's stuff that I talk to Ronnie about all the time just because outside his peer group, for the most part, with, with exceptions and people I've interacted with, it's not there.
Hmm.
And I think that when I see it in the next generation, or even more amazingly in a 20-year-old generation, early 20s,
Hmm.
it's nice because it's something familiar to me and it's something that I've put in my matrix of existing. So like I'm a kind person
Hmm.
by nature. I hold doors open for people because it's the right thing to do and it's polite, it's mannerly.
Yeah.
Like I step back sometimes and shrink myself because I know it's not my time to have the mic or have the magic talking stick or whatever. And you have to envelop everybody with the social skills and
Exactly.
go back and forth.
Mhm.
So like I feel that ironically it stands out more than you think it does
Yeah.
because there's so fewer examples when I do see it. I'm like, oh, they did the right thing.
Yeah.
Huh. You don't really see that
Exactly.
often.
Exactly.
So the credit to your family, credit to your mom, credit to yourself, because I find that a lot of people don't realize that like being something is a dedication of time and effort.
Yes.
Like you choose to wake up and onboard this mentality that you have, go through the day with it in mind in the forefront of how to act, how to carry yourself,
Yeah.
what to do. I move with care for the world.
Mhm.
I can't give money I don't have to people that have less than me, all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But like I do speak to them. I do have conversations. I do sometimes spend time with people I shouldn't be spending time with, as
Yeah.
far as like a bad day or a moment of between strangers that just happens organically.
Yeah.
I think that me doing that has made me a better person. I've seen examples from other people that I see the necessity in that as far as growth
Yep.
as a person.
Exactly.
But it's an interesting thing when you come from one environment and you move to another environment and you see the different takeaways and different pluses and minuses of the whole situation.
And it's like wherever you go, wherever you navigate throughout life, you collect certain aspects of your personality along the way.
100%.
And like you said, man, what you think about yourself at the end of the day shows outwardly.
Yeah.
So like with you, like you're somebody who's very like conscientious, you care about people, and that's very clear to see from the way you interact with people. But at the same time, you're very like firm on like I'm gonna put me first, and I care about myself, and I have a huge sense of self-respect for myself.
Yeah.
But I try to carry that equal sense of respect towards everybody else and the world around me, and that's evident to see.
I think there's an accountability factor, bro.
Yeah.
Like I think that like we all play into this world and we all have a role to play, but like it doesn't have to be a big role, but like be consistent, be right. Play by the rules, bro. I'm a fair dude. Like it's a lot of life.
I'm a good Samaritan.
I'm a good Samaritan,
Yeah.
bro. Like don't make me have to go off rule sets that don't apply to this situation.
Yeah.
Like the things I do on the East Coast or the things I did in the 90s in New York, not acceptable out here. It's just not the way it works.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to adjust the rule set, but at the same time, you still have to be responsible for the basic golden rule stuff, the basic pleasantries.
Somebody
stuff
said
like
New
that.
York niggas always walking around like they're mad at something.
You know what? It's interesting because that's like a self-defense thing, bro.
Yeah.
Like everybody, there's a lot of those times, man, you walk around, people trying to get you. And if you look like a target, you'll be a target.
Yeah. Stick-ups and robberies.
Stick-ups, robberies, but also like I've also seen that brolic ass, whatever guy that's just tired of being taken advantage of, that just said, fuck you. You're not robbing me for the third time. I live down the street, motherfucker. And then most of the time they're like, oh, my bad, homie. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, that's why I say like New York is one of those places that it's like, you're a New Yorker first and whatever else you are at second.
I think that's kind of where me and you connect, bro. Because I could sense a strong personality. Underneath the kindness, I could sense a very strong personality.
It's a work in progress and it's a work in intolerance. You know what I'm saying? Like I come from a stronger environment.
Yeah.
And I think it's
concrete jungle.
I grew up in New York, but I lived in a lot of years in Virginia too, man.
Yeah.
And Virginia, to his credit, if you talk shit, you're gonna get slapped in the mouth. Because it's not that it's the toughest place, it's just blue collar as fuck.
Blue collar, yeah.
So like, there's no platitudes. There's no room for like people that are like. There's people that got money there, but it's old money.
Yeah.
They got money from like renting out storage units, having land, developing smart moves over time.
Hmm.
But like everybody's blue collar as shit, bro. You talk shit, somebody gonna smack you in the mouth, bro.
Yeah.
And it might not be the person you think it's gonna be.
Yeah.
But like, I think that I want to move in a lighter way with not a lot of aggression. The harshness. I want to move lighter.
Because that takes a lot of energy.
It can.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that. I'm capable of doing some of
Yeah.
these things because the environments I've been in, a lot of people are, but like I'd rather move this way. I've seen a better path for myself
Hmm.
as far as how I like to move and how I like to interact with the world. And that's how I like to interact with the world. I'm a very cantankerous person
Hmm.
if you catch me in the wrong time.
Yeah.
But I realize that that's on me. Like I don't have to react any kind of way.
Yep.
I get to control my reactions. I want to live like this. So if I want to live like this, I can't be the old guy.
Hmm.
And the old guy is very sharp, is very biting, is very sarcastic. It's all these things.
Hmm.
And I don't really like some of the reactions I get.
Hmm.
So why not just change it?
It sucks when like you think back on our interaction. It's like, damn, I was kind of an asshole there.
Bro, it's really like, and it's one of those things. It's like it's necessary because I
Yeah.
mean, maybe you don't get the apology back or get a chance to apologize or just redo the situation, if you will. Maybe not apologize is the right word,
Yeah.
but like I've definitely, between my mild drug use,
Hmm.
experimentation with shrooms and different things, hallucinogens, things like that nature, it gives me time to be more introspective and think about how I want to be perceived in this world and how
Mhm.
I want my life to go on a daily interaction basis.
Where do you find the balance between caring about that, which I understand, like, and I care about that too, like how I'm perceived in the world, and I guess you can call it your reputation,
Yeah.
versus not caring about people's opinions, because it almost seems like a contradiction or an oxymoron, and I think about that a lot because it's two philosophies that people always try to preach: is like monitor like how you're perceived by people, but also don't care how you're perceived by people.
Yeah.
So where does that balance come?
I think it comes from years of being indelibly centered in your core basics.
Yeah.
Like I think that you pick like I think 2-3 attributes that you have.
Mhm.
If I feel like I'm a hard worker, I feel like I love people, and I feel like I'm really trying to improve the quality of life.
Mhm.
If things and situations don't match up with those tenets, then I know it's not for me.
Yeah.
And it's not really like and I think that's where the not caring comes from. It's because if it doesn't resonate with the core of what I'm trying to do as a person, then it's not for me.
Mhm.
Not that it's wrong, it's just not for me. And I don't have to worry about that.
Mm.
If it's in that realm or it's something touching that realm, I'm like, okay, let's see how this interacts. And then I'm like, oh, well, maybe that person's a good person. I trust them because they've never not told me I had a booger in my nose.
Mhm.
So maybe I should think that I have a booger in my nose and maybe I should at least check the mirror.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of those things. I think that that's the quality part of having quality people in your life, regardless of how long they've been in. If you value their quality that they have, then you know that their opinions are more important because they're valid and they're truthful and they resonate.
Yeah.
So sometimes we get blind spots. We don't see the things that we're turning into or see the things that directions we're going. And if we've done a good job of setting those friendship boundaries and different people in our life, then they're kind of like the caution signs of the, hey, whoa, sharp turn ahead, bro. Like,
Yeah.
slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
And those are the opinions that really resonate and stick in, I think.
For sure.
But it is a tough balance, though. But also, you should be consistently qualifying your friend group.
Yeah.
Like, did he let me sit with a booger in my nose through that whole dinner? Like,
Yeah.
why would he do that? Was he trying to set me up or was he just not trying to embarrass me?
Yeah.
But like these constant evaluations of your peer group, and cut people off often.
Yeah.
Like, not like for petty shit, but like if it doesn't
You'll
hold,
know.
You'll know.
You always know when to do it.
Don't stay too long, bro.
Yeah.
Just make the it's not even that hard of a choice usually.
Exactly.
It's usually just a fade off.
Yeah.
Like a little jump shot fade away.
Yeah.
And then they don't. You're like, oh, what? You don't want to
See
get that
ya.
rebound? You don't want to get that rebound? All right, cool. I'm running back court, bro.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Do
even
like
worth
the
it.
meme of the guy fading away?
The little Homer Simpson joint
Yeah.
going back in the bushes. You go
Uh,
live your life.
That's the classic, bro.
You know?
But that's not to say to micromanage your friendships, but it's good to do an audit every once in a while.
Very good word. I
know?
think the audit is super necessary. I usually do mine usually around the new year because that's when I'm auditing. Actually, to be honest with you, I usually audit around now, November, December, so I can get ready to go into the next year in a more positive light.
I got a spreadsheet full of everybody's name that I know in my life. Y'all niggas better watch out.
Ah!
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You said audit like this.
You got the people to kill list. Watch out.
But then, hey, bro, this is like a philosophy class that we just put.
I love this, bro.
We just gave the people some gems right now.
Gem. Gem dropping. It's like Candy Crushing this joint, bro.
Yeah, dead ass, bro.
Yo, what do you think? Like, we were talking about, like, my purpose, like, and what I believe for myself.
Mhm.
You know, what are some of the things that you really hold core, not like jobs or pursuits, like, what are you really looking towards, like, bringing towards the world that no one else can?
What am I looking towards bringing towards the world? That is a good question. I think for me, it has similarities to what you were saying as far as showing care and respect for everybody I interact with, unless I'm shown otherwise. And for the world as a whole, my community. Like, biggest example for me is since we are in election season right now. I used to be one of those, yeah, man, F voting, I'm not gonna vote, et cetera. But as I've gotten older, I've started to realize the impact that my voice and my opinion on things can have, and how they can sway potentially other people. Because one of like my positive qualities, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I think I'm a pretty like convincing person. So I think if I find an idea or like a mission or something that I want to do that I can rally behind, I think I find it easy for me to get people to come join me or support me or build with me, for lack of a better term. And at this point in my life is just about figuring out, beyond my personal pursuits, how I can put that gift into action to help society as a whole. Because it's only been recently, as far as the past year or two, where I've started to really think about, what impact do I want to have on people outside of just me and my immediate family members and my future kids,
Right.
and because that seems a little selfish to me, right? And I do want to have an impact on people that I might never interact with. It's just a matter of figuring out, nailing down that idea or that pursuit outside of myself, and using the gifts that I know I have to try and get there.
It's a hard thing, man.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, like, I'm just coming into some of those things as far as, like, feeling secure enough with the me of the situation to get to the next step.
Yes,
I
that's
think
the biggest thing.
And it's hard. And I'm talking doctoral thesis type shit.
Mhm.
Like, I don't expect you at 28, 29 to know the next step. I'm just figuring some of this stuff out myself. And I got a long way to go too with
As
that.
is everybody else, man.
But I think that, like, it's interesting to hear it from the person themselves,
Mhm.
because I think that a lot of people's motives are different, man. And a lot of people's whys are different. And a lot of people's reasoning behind their why is like, it's great that you have an altruistic goal. Some people have that goal just for their own power grab or money grab. And it just doesn't serve the greater good.
Mhm.
And I think that there should always be some kind of reach back, always some kind of community build. Because you're living in the world, you do make impact.
Exactly.
So I think that's a fantastic place to be as far as growth and knowing what your legacy is going to be.
Yeah.
With the legacy piece, we were talking earlier too, a little bit off panel. This is 6 years, you're going into year 7 for you guys.
Yeah.
And I always make the joke with Ronnie because he's a producer. He's on this joint. He be advertising. He paid for the business cards.
There you go.
But I mean, it's almost like you're the visual Chad of Neptunes in the whole 2Coin, kind of community. You're very.
I'll take that. I like that.
You're very active. You're very open. You're very, involved in it. But a lot of people don't see the same interaction sometimes as Ronnie is like, hey, 2 coins.
Yeah.
Because it's important. Do you feel like your growth in the show, your growth with this process, like I was checking out some clips and just even visually how things go with your layout for your podcast,
Yeah.
it's just different. What do you think the biggest takeaway, or is what would be something that you would tell that early version of yourself when you started podcasting, something that would help them kind of get off better or kind of be a little bit more successful in the beginning parts?
Yeah, so like what I would tell myself, thanks for the compliment again, by the way. But what I would tell myself in the beginning is to just trust yourself, man. Just trust the thoughts that you're having, and then trust the ability that you have to articulate those thoughts. And don't be afraid of sharing your contributions and the impact that those contributions can have. Because working with Ronnie for this long period of time, I've seen how more or less how his brain works, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
He'll brainstorm things and like they'll stick, and sometimes they won't stick, right? But every idea that he puts out there makes me really sit back and think about it, like, this could be something.
Yeah.
This could be something. With me, I take a lot more time to filter my thoughts to where they don't come out as fresh and as crisp and as hard hitting as they would have if I just, boom, I have an idea. Here's what I'm thinking right now. Like, it takes me more time to process my creative ideas. And I think as we've gotten more used to working with each other and more used to brainstorming and kind of long-term planning, strategic thinking, things like that.
Right.
I'm trying to get better at doing exactly that, is just being more quick on my feet with these type of ideas and not just throw them out there as soon as I have them in my head.
Right.
Right.
Or maybe get them down on paper or something like that.
Exactly. So that's probably the biggest piece of learning that, I'm still trying to conquer now. And that's what I would tell myself early. It's just don't limit yourself. Don't limit your creative input, and don't ever overthink too much or think twice about something. When you say something, stand on it. And if you're thinking something, just say it and stand on it.
I think that's also like the most interesting point of this podcast world that I've seen, and I realize more now, is that a lot of people don't realize, man, Ronnie's not going back through and we're like, cut. And now let's go back over that point and let's rerun that, come in more concise and stop stuttering.
Yeah.
Like Ronnie presses play.
Mm-hmm.
He takes some notes in the background and then we off. So like a lot of people don't realize a lot of these podcasts are not only forever markers in a conversation, but they're one take. We Jay-Z in the booth.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? We Jada Kiss.
Oh yeah.
Because whatever we're saying, we have to like concisely rally all the thoughts about that one point and get it out. And it's a little bit nervous because you don't want to offend, but you don't want to be fake.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's really like where it comes down to.
Exactly. It's such a hard balance, bro.
It's so hard because like I think off panel and on panel, as far as like being a podcaster, you really got to stand on business.
You have to.
You have to.
Yeah.
Because then what's the point? Because then you're just like everything else that wavers back and forth. But at the same time, I think like you're saying to your earlier point, it also is a system of checks and balances because it's going to be in the world and you're going to have to defend your point.
Yeah.
So like, even like we were joking around and, time frame wise, the Kirkland joint just came out, but we did that like a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
So as the Kirkland comment I made is stupid comment about Kirkland stuff, and people are really like saying things to me, and I'm just like, is that really how I feel like it? I'm like going through the shopping center. I'm like, I hate this shit. I'm good. Nope, I'm not a fraud. Like, I don't want to do this shit.
Yeah.
But like, it sounds so silly, but like, it's really like you really have to be a representation of what you are, stand on business.
You have no choice but to be genuine. There's no way around it, because if you're not, you're gonna get caught. You have a digital footprint. There's videos of you from a year ago. Granted, everybody has a right to change their mind.
For sure. I mean, opinions, what have you.
But like, yeah, you got to stand on what you're saying. Like, you can't just be like, you can't be lying, basically.
And I think that like even more so like in this day and age, I think we're just getting past cancel culture.
Yeah.
Like with, maybe a year, within 2 or 3 years removed from it. Now all the comedians are coming back, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's finding a way to like, take a hit and, absorb it and come back from it. Mm-hmm. I think it's a really interesting thing as life matriculates. Like, I watch a lot of MMA. So like in MMA, when in the very beginning it was super rough and it was no rules, then it got rules and then people made adjustments. And then wrestlers came in and then they made adjustments, you know, and then strikers came in and they made, we're always going to be making adjustments in an ecosystem based upon the stimuluses that were faced upon us. We got to a point in human creation where it's just like, you know what? These things that rough values and rough things that we used to talk about, there's too many people in the world. That's not really cool. Like, so that got taken to the extreme. And it's like, oh, then you can't say I hate you. I'm like, why not? Those are just words. I'm not, you know? So like it balloons up and then it comes back down. So it's an interesting thing to see how the course corrections of being more intellectual pursuits, being more a little bit further away from war, being further away from struggle, how that kind of transforms the day-to-day of everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's super interesting that way. But yeah, it's one of those things. Life be lifing.
Life be lifing as always, man. We talked about it a lot, bro.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff in the world. But I appreciate, and that's the other thing too, man. A lot of people don't realize a lot of our guests, different people come from different places. You came from an hour and a half away, damn near.
Yeah,
appreciate that, especially in the
it's
morning.
nothing, bro. Always, bro.
Easy stuff, man. But thank you so much for coming by, man.
I appreciate you having me on, bro.
Man. I hope people get a better understanding of why you were the truest 6'8" person in your current body, because it is what it is. I
respect that. Hey, and this brother has a bright future in the podcasting space. Like his shit, I have a feeling is going to take off, man. I've always told you got the voice for the pod and you got the personality to connect with people. You put those two ingredients together, all you need is just consistency, bro.
It's like two sides of the same coin.
But there we go.
Yo, guys, really appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for listening. Whoever's out there, appreciate you. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe. We're doing our thing.
Thank you. Appreciate you.